What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, with a special guest coming at you on YouTube today. And today I've got another edition of The Drive-In, where I give you guys a review of recent movies that are either in theaters or recently on DVD or out in the calendar year. And I tell you guys whether it's worth watching right away, waiting for on demand, or skipping altogether. Today on The Drive-In, I've got a special guest for a special reason. You guys can see Mr. Good Guy himself, Buddy, I mean Chucky, not Buddy, Chucky, here today to review Child's Play 2019, the remake of Child's Play. Now, I put this one off for quite a while. I didn't want to watch this because of the fact that the whole studio battle and everything, somehow a second studio got the rights to Child's Play, so while the original team was making a Child's Play sequel and also a Child's Play TV series, Paramount, I think it's Universal, Paramount, I forget who it is. I think it's Universal, started making this Child's Play remake while the original crew was doing their own Child's Play. So it was very soon after the last sequel. It was not a needed remake. Chucky had turned into Buddy on the previews. He looked a lot different. So I was kind of really against this remake. I didn't think it was necessary, especially with the current franchise still making new projects. So I put this one off for a while, but a buddy of mine picked this up at the library and said, hey, let's check this out. So I decided to watch this back in September, and then I forgot that I watched it. I guess that'll play into the review later. But here we are now. I wanted to review this movie for you guys and let the hardcore fans of the Child's Play series know if it's worth watching, and Chucky and I will give this thing a rating. So spoilers first, and then we'll go spoiler-free at the end for those of you that have not seen it. This movie is directed by Lars Klevberg, written by Tyler Burton Smith, and starring Aubrey Plaza, Gabriel Bateman, and Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky. So, for those of you guys that don't know what Child's Play is, you're probably on the wrong channel, because if you're watching this, Styles Clash for Life is partially a horror channel. So, Child's Play, sit down, Chucky. Child's Play is a movie about a young loner boy who gets a doll for his birthday, and the doll winds up being real, committing havoc. In the original Child's Play, Chucky winds up being a bad guy who knows some voodoo and possesses the doll to stay alive as he gets shot, and he tries to transfer into Andy Barclay's body to stay alive and stay in that body for life. This movie is a little bit different. Similar story, but updated for the current generation. So it is, again, about a doll that goes bad and goes on a murderous rampage at the behest, or at the what's the word for it? Kind of against the wishes of young Andy Barclay and his family. So, again, I was kind of nervous because I knew they were going to take this in a different direction. Which I guess in a way is smart. It's kind of a lose-lose doing remakes. I've said it on this channel a million times. If you remake a movie that's too close to the original, there's no point to remake it. And if you remake a movie that's too far away from the original source material, you anger the hardcore fans, and it seems like you're spitting on the lineage. So it's really a lose-lose. But they tried to make it smart here by updating it for the current generation. Right away, I'll get into the pros. The updates they used were pretty good. Basically, in this movie, the plot, without giving too much away, is that Chucky, or Buddy, whatever, there's a company called Caslin that runs all these different technological things like phones, droids, drones, all this stuff. And they make a series of dolls that conform to your human. They sort of, in their eyes and the sensors, they read and connect to other Caslin devices, so they can operate devices in your home. They can connect and kind of modify themselves to their human, so they can be the human's kind of best friend for life and do all the tasks like a Siri would do or like an Alexa would do. So they kind of did that in a cool way. The technology stuff looked pretty good. It didn't look phony. The graphics and stuff didn't look fake. The Caslin commercials they used were really cool. So I liked kind of the way they updated it with using Chucky as a droid kind of that is meant to be a pal for their human and winds up going bad. Basically, in the beginning of this movie, in the first 5 minutes, so I'm not spoiling too much here, one of the workers at the Caslin company gets fired. He's down on his luck, so he decides that he's going to corrupt one of the chips of the Buddy dolls so that it kind of goes haywire and turns bad. So that's the reason why Chucky becomes bad in this movie. So they do mess with the lineage a little bit, but it's really not a bad storyline having a worker kind of go rogue and make a doll kind of evil because he's mad about being fired. Not a bad storyline. Again, it kind of deviates from what we're used to, but you have to take this as kind of a standalone movie. If you take this like the original Child's Play, you're probably not going to like it. But as a standalone, pretty solid. The dialogue in this movie I kind of enjoyed. I kind of think the dialogue was solid. A lot of kids being kids. The mom using a lot of hip, younger slang. When the children have their scenes and talk to each other in this movie, it sounds natural. There's some bully kids in this. There's some bad kids in this. I kind of like the way the kids talk to each other. The script was pretty well written in terms of the interactions. They felt natural. They updated the cop character and made him a little bit comedy. Sometimes a little too comedy, but at least they gave the policeman more of a backstory in this movie instead of just kind of chasing after Charles Lee Ray. He has kind of a relationship with his mother. He lives at home. He's being harassed for living at home. He kind of brings some levity to the situation, so I kind of like how they updated that in the character choice. Also, casting in general, pretty solid. Aubrey Plaza makes a really good mother in this story. She's a really good actress. We've seen her in a lot of horror things. I like her a lot. She plays a really sympathetic character in this, and she has a bigger role, I think, than the mom in the first one. Or maybe an equal role, I should say. So I enjoyed her in this. Gabriel Bateman was a pretty solid Andy Barclay. A little annoying at times, but wasn't too bad. I didn't think he was better than the original character that played Andy, but I think he was solid here. Mark Hamill, if you're not going to use the original Chucky, then Mark Hamill was the best choice. I mean, honestly, nobody is going to top that original Chucky voice. It's so synonymous and so iconic after all these years. But to get another character actor who's known for the Batman animated series Joker, who just has that dark, raspy, evil voice, it fit Chucky's character pretty well, and I would legitimately say it was the second best choice to be a Chucky, aside from the original. So really good casting in this overall. The emotion played well into this. They kind of had Chucky killing for Andy at first, so he was kind of doing his job as a good guy doll. He wasn't killing out of evil motives. He was killing for his human, so they had that human connection a little bit with him. Andy had more of a rough upbringing than he did in the first one. They kind of showed the mom not being married anymore, having boyfriends in the house, stuff like that, showing the rough side to Andy a little more, so they added some nice depth both to the mom character and the Andy character, and the reason for why Chucky was bad, at first at least. So the story, all in all, pretty good. So you're saying to yourselves, well, where does it lose you? Why is it not a standout in 2019? Now I'm going to get into spoilers and tell you why. I guess before I give you the spoilers, I guess generalizations. It was too kid-centric. They tried to make it too much like a Stranger Things. The children solving mysteries thing is a big popular horror trope right now. We saw it done well in Stranger Things, done well in Summer of '84, but every single movie is trying to become this whiz kid detective solving horror crime movies. In 2019, there's a rash of them. And when it's done well, it's done very, very well, but it's not done all that well here. The background characters for the kids are okay, but they don't have much to do in the second half of this movie, and them kind of coming together to try and beat Chucky together doesn't make much sense. It doesn't resonate. They don't connect with the story as much in the second half of the movie, and it feels like they just shoehorn these kids in here just to have a story. So I didn't like that. Buddy's look obviously wasn't great. I didn't really enjoy that. Some of the stuff they did with him was CGI. I did like his dialogue and his presence early in the movie, but it seemed like toward the end it got a little faker, and it just got a little more silly. They overexposed the walking a little bit, so it looked a little fake in moments. They protected him early, but they didn't hide him enough late. And then also, just sort of the last third of the movie is where it turned me off. Aside from the CGI, they had these... I guess this is spoiler-free here. There's not a spoiler in this. But they had these, like, bears. They had other Caslin products coming to life and being part of the attack at the end. So when they get stuck in this mall... and again, if this is spoilery, I'm sorry. So if you guys don't want to hear spoilers, I would turn this off. But toward the end, the characters get stuck in this mall. It's a nice little location. But all the Caslin products come to life. So it's not just Chucky pursuing Andy anymore. And all of a sudden, these kids are trying to fight off Chucky. But now you have these Caslin bears, these evil bears that look like the Five Nights at Freddy bears, coming to life trying to fight for Chucky. and you have like planes and stuff being taken over. All these different toys operated by Caslin become the enemy. So the focus is taken off Chucky and put onto some very fake-looking, silly-looking bears. It kind of has that like a little bit of that like Krampus thing where the gingerbread men come to life and it looks very CGI. At least that's kind of funny. This is not funny. It just looks fake. These bears and all these planes and toys kind of becoming the villain over Chucky. It just looks very CGI and it takes you out of it. And like I said, these shoehorn kids now trying to fight off different things that aren't Chucky. So you have a bunch of characters and villains who don't fit in the last sequence of this movie. And the first hour of this hour and a half movie were done very well. So to wind up using all these different villains and using all these different characters that don't fit. Also, I think the mother is the one to defeat Chucky here and not Andy, which kind of takes away from the whole Chucky and Andy dynamic and kind of kills the magic of the original connection. There's not as much connection with the mother in Chucky, and so when she does, when she's the killer here at the end, it doesn't feel quite as good. And then, of course, Chucky's killed, but then they say at the end of the movie, basically, and again, spoilers here, they say at the end of the movie that after Chucky's murdered, that the Buddy dolls are being recalled, but another Buddy doll kind of comes to life in the package. Toward the end, they show another My Buddy package, and he comes to life and he starts being evil. But it's like, wait a minute, Chucky was the only one that was evil. It wasn't Caslin that went bad. It was the guy at the beginning of the movie who made the Chucky doll evil by messing with his chip. So that should have been the only evil Chucky. So when he was dead, other Caslin dolls shouldn't have turned bad. Because the worker that killed himself at the beginning of the movie didn't make any of the other Caslin dolls bad. So there shouldn't be more than one Chucky. So that's when the backstory doesn't make sense. And they kind of force it in there to make an ending just in case this movie makes money and they make a sequel. So all in all, again, it started solid. Good casting, good dialogue, some good comedy with the early characters in there, some good kills early, nice job with the updating of the technology. That stuff was all positive, and then in the last half hour, you're shoehorning villains and characters in there, and you're messing with your backstory, you're messing with the kill at the end. The overall ending with the random doll coming to life made no sense. So the last half hour kills it for me. If this movie was just an hour long and they ended it regularly, I would have given this something like a 7.5 out of 10. Because the last half hour is so thrown together and so force-fed, and the logic kind of loses gaps in there, I'm going to give this movie overall a 5 out of 10. So certainly not bad, not nearly as bad as I expected. If you like Child's Play movies, this might be worth seeing, but don't expect the original movie. You must expect the update. Even still, while it's not bad, it does not stand out by any stretch of the imagination in a pretty solid 2019 horror landscape. So I'll give this movie a 5 out of 10. But again, if you're a fan of the series, check it out. Chucky, what do you think? Chucky says 5 out of 10 as well, but he is also killing for a sequel. So let me know if you guys have seen this movie. If you have not, what do you think of this review, and are you looking forward to it? And do you want to see more of these, or are you going to stick to the original series, making new sequels? Tell me in the comments below what you think of this whole fiasco, and I will see you guys on the drive-in next time. Chucky says goodbye for now.